Standing on the top now. No, nothing can move you.
Well, they banned me on YouTube again. I think this is for a week because of some things I said about Kanye. They labeled it as hate, and all I talked about was Kanye's mental condition. You can find that video. It will be on the BitChute channel, the Bob TV NYC or Bob TV Bit channel. Just look for the logo, and you'll find that video there. And in the future, when I'm going to talk about something that I want to go uncut, again, that video will be over there. I will tell you to don't come here. Thank you for coming here, but go over there. I'm about to go live there, or I'm going to have the video uploaded there. On that note, I want to call this Twitter stroll. Not Twitter troll, but Twitter stroll. Daily, I'm going to be strolling through Twitter, and I'm going to see things, and I'm going to make my comment on them. I'm going to give you my analysis on these things, or we're just going to chop it up and talk about it. It could be a subject of the day, whatever. But I'm going to call this Bob TV's Twitter stroll. Not Twitter trolling, but Twitter strolling. Twitter strolling by Bob TV. With Bob TV. Twitter strolling with Bob TV. And that's what it is. So if you got a certain video you want me to comment on, certain link you want me to comment on, or something like that, just send it to the Bob TV NYC at gmail.com or BobTV at gmail.com. Send me the clip, and we'll probably add it on the show or give you credit for it. And that's that. But let's get into today's broadcast. Here, let me see. Where am I at? Got a lot of stuff I want to talk about, honestly speaking. But let's talk about this. There was an opinion piece by Stephen A. Crocker Jr., who's an opinion editor. In other words, this is just his opinion. He has no solid facts, nothing to back it up. This is just his opinion. And in his opinion, he say this rapper, talking about Killer Mike, is far more dangerous, more politically dangerous than Kanye West. Now, he's not saying he's physically dangerous. He's mentally dangerous, but he say politically dangerous than Kanye West. Now, I've yet to read the article, and what I want to do going forward, I don't want to pre-read stuff. I want to read it as it is and then go over it with you. But it say Killer Mike cozied up with Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and Senate candidate Herschel Walker, allowing legitimacy to their campaign with the black community. Now, I want to stop this for a second. Stephen, no side, Democratic or Republican, have black best interests at heart. One side claim to, but they don't. And one side pretty much don't, but you might have some areas you can really negotiate with them on. The problem with Stephen A. Crocker in his opinion piece is he's one of those people that think black people belong to the Democratic Party. And Malcolm X said black people don't supposed to belong to any party. They're only supposed to belong to themselves. They're only supposed to rally together as a community. Get on code, stay on code, and take directions from there. All we have to do is listen to what our forefathers said from the past. We don't have to have no brand. Where's the new black leaders? We don't need new black leaders. We already have our forefathers' advice, our teachings. We already have those. It's like somebody saying, when's the new Jesus going to come? You don't need it. You got the words of Jesus in the Bible. You got the words of the prophets in the Bible. If you go with those words and act on those words, you should get the results of what that word meant for you to get. If we as a black community listen and take heed and exercise the mindset of our forefathers, we'll see massive results. But the thing is, we don't. We're looking for a black leader, and they're looking for a black leader so they can snuff out, just like when our black leaders exposed themselves, they did whatever they can to trap them, get them to get the dirt on somebody that's above them, get them to rat on each other. They infiltrated our programs. They infiltrated the Native Nation of Islam. They infiltrated Malcolm X's new organization, the Black Nationalist Organization. They infiltrated Dr. King. They infiltrated the Black Panthers, Fred Hampton. That's what they do. But here we got Stephen Crocker saying that black people should not give legitimacy to Governor Brian Kemp and Senator candidate Herschel Walker's campaign. So what? You think the only person that should have legitimacy is Stacey Abrams? Raphael Warnock? We don't owe the Democratic a doggone thing. We don't owe you no allegiance because you haven't shown no allegiance to us. All you do is use us and abuse us, and you do everything for other people but don't do anything for us. Let's get into the story. It's a Kanye West anti-Semitic, and we're going to go over the things that Kanye said that was anti-Semitic. We're going to go over that because Kanye has said some anti-black things. And they haven't had the shock and awe calling for companies to detach away from him for saying anti-black sentiments as a black man. But he says something about anti-Semitic situations or things. Oh, they go off. Cut ties. Boycott them. Divest from them. But when it came to the anti-black statements, no, it's okay. Misogynistic dribbling is exhausting. Or as a writer Damian Young pointed out, is boring. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be addressed, but it's nothing new. Just like the anti-Semitic statements that you hear from racist people and people who are not racist but just want to bring out a point about certain things in the Jewish community, just like people bring out certain things going on in the traditional white community, just like they bring out things that's going on in traditional black community or Christian community or the Arab community. Understand this, folks, and I will go on and continue. A Jewish person is just a person who practices Judaism. It's not a race. Even when it comes from them being from Israel, an Israelite is a person who is from Israel, but it's not a race. At the end of the day, the original Jews, going back into history, were all colors. A lot of them was black, and a lot of them got pushed out of their territory because of the Islamic invasion, and that allowed some Islamic. Well, I'm not going. I'm going to do another video on that because it's really detailed about the Islamic invasion, and then you had the invasion with Alexander the Great and all that kind of stuff. It goes into a lot of history and people claiming lands to this very day. And I don't want to get into that because it's a headache. I want to just focus on this. But let me reiterate this. Jewish people are people who practice Judaism. And that comes from all colors. Stop thinking it's a race. Whoopi Goldberg got reprimanded for that. No, it's a fact. You got some black Jews. You got some white Jews. You got some people, Arab Jews that practice Judaism, but they don't practice Islam. You got them in all different colors. It's not a color. It's a religion. Just like anti-Semitic is just like saying anti-Christian. Now, anti-black is a whole totally different thing. Now you're talking about somebody's color. You're not talking about their faith or religion. You're not talking about their sexuality. That's where the misogynistic word comes from. Anti-black is strictly about colors. And Kanye ain't the first one that went down these roads. Kanye said something about people who practice Judaism. He said something about black people. And we're going to get in this with the video concerning him about this divestment urge over anti-Semitic speech. But no, none whatsoever, not at all, divestment when it comes to anti-black speech. Kanye is a black man who believes himself a prophet. Now, I don't know where that came from, but a prophet is just one who speaks on behalf of God. It doesn't mean he was called by God. Some people claim that statement, that they're called by God to be a prophet, but a prophet is a person who just speaks for God. You know, people thought Malcolm X was a prophet. People thought Elijah Muhammad was a prophet. People thought Louis Farrakhan was a prophet. People thought Dr. Martin Luther King is a prophet. A prophet is just somebody who speaks on behalf of the Lord, on behalf of God. And you just choose to believe it or not. You choose to receive that prophet or not. The scripture says you receive a prophet, you receive the prophet reward. Now, there are false prophets out there also. Now, where Kanye fit in, sometimes he can be right on it. A lot of times he's not. And the whole point of my video that got took down was Kanye is not 100% healthy in the mind. From that car accident and him suffering a concussion, from bipolarism to his mom dying, to the situation going on with his wife and his kids, and the fact that he knows he's bipolar and he admits that he doesn't take his medication, is enough to let you know that he's going to get multiple personalities speaking on his behalf, but it's still going to come out of the face of Kanye, which means Kanye, and the mouth of Kanye, which ultimately means Kanye said these things, versus which one of the Kanye is saying this thing. We've seen this before. This hate is not new. It's well-worn, tired, and a beaten path. At this point, Chicago rapper is a Pentecostal preacher who lost his way, or a black Israelite with a self-written, heat-filled Bible. So, they want to put him in two categories which they consider radicals. Pentecostal preacher, and don't get me wrong, Kanye had two great spiritual albums that I truly enjoyed, but he's no Pentecostal preacher. He's no Pentecostal preacher. So stop this. Black Israelites? No, if he was a black Israelite, he wouldn't be saying white lives matter, because black Israelites are not saying that stuff. So you can't say that, Stephen. A black Israelite with a self-written, heat-filled Bible. A black Israelite don't have a self-written Bible. They use the Bible. Maybe out of context, maybe not, but they use the Bible. Let me see if I'm on. I'm doing all this talking. I might not even be on. Okay, I'm good. Either way, West now legally goes by Ye. So he changed his name from Kanye West to Ye, legally. His megaphone appears forever tuned to devious indictment against black people. Not to mention his voice is nauseating, reckless, and fraught. Now, we got a person who has a personal hatred for Kanye West, because I myself, I don't mind him having a megaphone to speak things out. This is America. You should have freedom of speech, and either people take it or leave it. Either you change the channel or don't change it. But the problem is people worrying about what he say may influence people. Well, what anybody say can influence people. You can't govern people's speech. You can't govern their thought, and you can't govern the way they receive things. That's, if you're gonna do that, you might well get rid of all the religious organizations, which you really want to do. And you want to control people's speech. You want to have a certain narrative and a certain speech, and you want everybody to follow yours. You don't want nobody to follow their own or follow. And that's the whole point of Kanye. It's just that he don't have any decorum and know how to pull back or pull the reins, because the timing may not be right. He appears forever tuned into individual indictments. What's wrong with him doing individual indictments? I individual indict. You doing an individual indictment right now, dude. Against black people. Like what black people he's doing individual indictments against? Folks, name me some people that Kanye West is doing invidious indictment. I'm sorry, that word is invidious indictment against white. What is he doing other than that anti-white T-shirt against black people? Now, anti-white that anti-black T-shirt, White Lives Matter. Oh, it was a slap in the black community face, saying slavery, his comments on slavery, that was a insult to black people. But you got many people on the left and right that has done the same thing. Not to mention his voice is Nazi. He don't like it. This dude don't like Kanye's voice. But he probably got about 3 or 4 albums of Kanye before he started supporting Trump. Reckless. How is his voice reckless? And fraud. How can a person's voice be nauseating, reckless, and fraud? How can a voice be reckless? How can a voice be fraught? His stream of conscious rants are divisive as they are non-cynical. Yeah, just like some of the rants of Joe Biden. Just like the rants of Trump. You're going to have some people that's going to have some rants. You're going to have some people that's going to have some rants that you would call divisive. Like anytime we start ranting about reparations, you call that a divisive issue. Why it got to be divisive? Because you don't agree with it? Because you don't support it? And they're nonsensical. People call us calling for reparation nonsensical. Now, my point to Stephen A. Crocker is at the end of the day, this is a country where you have freedom of speech. You're free to say what you want to say, but what I want to add in there is you're free to say what you say, but watch what you say before you say it, because there is consequences. You just can't go into a freaking airport and yell out bomb, or she's the bomb, or man, the food was the bomb. You can't do that because all somebody hears is that bomb, and you wasn't even talking about that kind of bomb, but they hear that, now they booting your butt out the airport. You got to guard your speech. You got to have some decorum with your mouth. You can say whatever you want to say, but you shouldn't say whatever you want to say. From his easily dismissible, insidious claims that the antagonizing, hurtful comment about slavery and the Holocaust. Why you didn't do... We'll get into that later. The famed music producer has turned into an outlier, yelling from the balcony to resuscitate his relevance in his career. But for everything the self-proclaimed non-reading yet lacks, how you know he don't read? Just because he tell you that don't mean he don't. He's just an easily ignorable for the same reason. He's not informed, and despite being passionate, he does not know what the hell he's talking about. And as a Texan would say, he's all hat and no cattle. Well, let me say this, sir. Kanye got some issues. We all know this. Kanye may not be the most intelligent person. We all know this. The problem with you guys is, whether he's intelligent or not, whether he's gifted with words or not. Before the situation with Trump, Kanye had legitimacy in the black community. Kanye had influence. But when Kanye started being influenced by the right, and he in turn start using his influence to influence more people on the right, that's where you came at. That's where the hating comes in. And then there's Michael Santiago Render, also known as Killer Mike. One half of the political rap group Run the Jewels. He's complicated, enigmatic, and calculated. He's vastly more dangerous than Ye. Now, he's going to show us how he's more dangerous than Ye. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Killer Mike's music. I think Killer Mike is strong as a political figure. I think he's transcended above entertainer. He has the power to run for mayor of Atlanta. he has the power to run for governor. But he won't do it. He is smart, calculated, intelligent. He pushes black businesses. He wants black banks. He pushed for black owned. And I rock with Killer Mike on that. I don't rock with him on the progressive and leaning toward the Bernie Sanders as a solution. And Nina Turner as a solution. During a recent appearance on Comedy Central's Hell of a Week with Charlamagne the God, how does this guy get all these shows? Killer Mike praised Georgia. Oh, I know how he got it. I know how Charlamagne got these shows because he kissed up to the white establishment. He don't push up. He don't side with his black community first. He side with the white establishment, the people paying his check first, then the black community maybe 10th. Killer Mike praised Georgia Governor Brian Kemp for running an effective campaign. What is wrong with that? If the Democrats not running an effective campaign and the Republicans are, why not bring that up? Why not bring that up? Shoot, he just said, well, the Republicans running an ineffective campaign and Democrats running an effective campaign when that's not true. He added, Kemp went to all black boys school that runs by a conservative black man down in Albany, Georgia. What's wrong with that? See, folks, the problem is we got this culture war between conservatives and liberals. It's not even about Democratic and Republicans, even though conservative and liberals conservatives are usually on the right, liberals usually on the left, and then you got some people that can move back and forth in the center. And Malcolm X never really talked about just the Democrats and Republicans. He always mostly talked about conservatives and the liberals, particularly white liberals. Same thing with Dr. King. He talked about white liberals over the conservatives. But these guys stayed in their lane. They wasn't taking any sides. And that's where black people need not take sides. That's where Killer Mike need not take sides. Kanye West need not to take sides. And because they're taking sides, they're getting these hit pieces on them. Killer Mike implied that Kemp opponent in 2018. Oh, let me go back to this. Kemp went to all black boys school. That's run by a conservative black man down in Albany, Georgia. Well, they claim Elvis hung around in the all black neighborhood, but he still took black people's songs, made a lot of money, and didn't even pay these people. And I know they said, well, his dad didn't control. I mean, his dad didn't control all his money and stuff like that. He could have paid these people. He could have took his own personal cash, wrote a check out, and paid those people instead of buying all these Cadillac cars and all this kind of stuff. Again, Governor Kemp went to all black boys school. Now that's saying something because they probably got some influence over him to a certain extent. He could have been more proud of Kemp's work reaching out to the black community, despite having effectively considered to try to prevent them from voting. Now, he said that Killer Mike couldn't be more proud of Kemp's work reaching out to the black community. What's wrong with a Republican reaching out to the black community? Especially when it's on subjects that affect the black community, things that black community needs. I don't take sides, you dumb idiots, and black people don't take sides. The people on the left are upset because Killer Mike is applauding Brian Kemp for having some things to reach out to the black community. Stacey Abrams need to do something like that too, because she don't. She has this plan to reach out to black men. It ain't nothing but a nothing burger. It's just a plan. She Johnny come lately, a Janetta come lately to the game because she knows she's lost strong black man vote, and soon she's gonna lose black women vote. Still got the black women strong, but she's starting to slip because they're realizing this lady is going to push everything else for everybody and leave you last at the bottom totem pole, just like Malcolm X said. You see, they come to you when it comes to voting. Any other time they don't come to you. He said, despite having effectively and consistently tried to prevent them from voting. The only thing I really know about Brian Kemp, and I'll look into him a little more, is Brian Kemp is for voter ID. There's nothing wrong with voter ID. You should identify whether you're a resident of the United States, let alone residents of that particular district. You need to show proof of your address in the picture of you. There should be no Democratic saying that nobody should have to have any kind of ID to vote. You're leaving it too wide open for voter fraud. You're leaving it too wide open for voter insecure machines. You're leaving it too wide open for somebody to just come in there, because people steal identities. People get fake identities. They get fake address. Look, I'm an identity theft risk management specialist. Do you know on average you're not the only person using your identification? There's 13 other people using your name right now. You got a driver's license in your name. And you won't know it until you get ready to buy a house or something like that, and you'll realize you got two houses. The only thing that I hear, which I agree with, is you should always have a state ID to vote in that state. Don't have to have a local ID, but you should have a state ID, and your address on that state ID should match the address on a voter roll. If not, it need to be taken off the roll. And the voting administration there, Secretary of State, which Kemp used to be, should always make sure that they go through the voter roll to make sure that these addresses are still legit. That's the whole problem of the mess that's going on in Florida with them incarcerating people or finding them for voting in an election when they claim they don't supposed to be voting. Is because a lot of times the address wasn't right, or they got convicted of murder or some sexual charge and they're not able to vote for a while. But nobody's coming to the local community and say, hey, we need you to register to vote. And once they see that, take their information to register to vote, and once they see a discrepancy in there, they need to say something, do something, so they can change it right away. But they don't do that unless it benefits them, the Democrats. Killa Mike implied that Kemp's opponent in 2018 and this year, Stacey Abrams, needs to go everywhere Mr. Kemp just went. And it's true. She need to go everywhere that he went. He is right. He's trying to help her out. He's trying to help her win. Wherever Mr. Kemp went, you need to go. And if she's not leading in every statistical category among black voters, or as if she's not leading. In other words, Stacey Abrams need to go everywhere Mr. Kemp go, as if she's not leading in every statistical category among black voters. In other words, she need to go to every nook and cranny of the black community and hear them out instead of telling her what she's going to do. Work with the black community so they can tell her what she need to do so she can go do it. We run the show, not you. We tell you the needs. You go to Washington, D.C., and you advocate our needs. That's how you stay in office. You don't say, well, with the filibuster and 60 and 50 and all. Now, stop. We know this. Nobody's dummies. You're using that as a lame excuse. Just saying, even with the Senate of 50, 60, I'm going to roll with this. Let's sit. Let's talk. Let's chop it up. I want to make sure that you get what you need. And what's the use of having me try to get your booties to the pole, or twerking to the pole, or buck dancing to the pole? What's the use of me getting you doing that when I'm not going to serve your needs? I'm going there for me, not for you at that point. Then he says he doesn't understand to estimate that Abram is of the black community. Dude, that don't matter anything. Stacey Abrams could be blacker than black, wearing black all day, made in black, drink black coffee, like a milk chocolate, only eat chocolate ice cream. She can have black fingernails like a golf person. She could be blacker than the black Bernie Mac black. But that doesn't mean she's of the black community, fool. And this is where you are making mistakes. Politicians are making mistakes. With this kind of mess right here, that this dumb idiot, commentator, opinion writer, fail to understand. Just because you black don't mean we gonna vote for you. And to be of the black community means to be in the community, advocating what the community needs. You can be by, for, and of. We got to select you that's being picked by the community. We will give you the agenda that's going for the community. That will make you of the community. She doesn't need to visit the community. She's part of it. No, she's not. Just because you live in the community don't mean you're part of the community. It's plenty of people in the community that does nothing in their community. They don't go to no Senate. They don't go no meeting, no town hall. They're not out there advocating. They're not out there trying to demand for things. They're not out there marching. They're not. No, stop this, dude. Just because somebody's black don't mean they're of the black community. This fool actually had the nerve to say she doesn't need to visit the community. She's part of it. What he has done here is what makes him so dangerous. He's positioned himself as a black voice of reason instead of a shield for the Republican Party. No, you're positioning yourself as a black voice of reason and a shield for the Democratic Party. He's putting himself in a position in the middle, saying if he's doing it, and I applaud him for doing it, you need to be doing the same thing. Because if you do it, I applaud you for doing it. But right now you're not doing it, and you're black. And you actually believe you're entitled to our vote because you're black, and you're not. Those days are gone. He's positioned himself as a black voice of reason instead of a shield for Republican Party. So when Killer Mike spouts ridiculous claims implying that Abram isn't doing enough black outreach, she's forced to answer despite it not being a concern. She need to be voiced to answer because she ain't doing much for the black community. Just because you live in the black community, that don't make you part of the local action in the black community. Just because you black and you live in the white community doesn't make you part of the white community. Color got nothing to do with it, Doc. I think the manufactured crisis is designed to suppress turnout. So here he is with his thoughts. And there is no manufactured crisis. It's simple. Don't let Brian Kemp outdo you when it comes to reaching out to black people, then you do you. Don't assume that black people are not going to listen to Brian Kemp because you're running for office. Don't assume that. Because at the end of the day, it ain't about you or Brian Kemp. It's about our community. He who could at least talk with us and work with us on some things is better than somebody assuming. I think the manufactured crisis is designed to... This is not a manufactured crisis, bruh. This is serious business. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're born and raised on the South Side in a little black shack house with your little Bernie Mac black grandma. That don't mean you got black interests in the heart. That don't mean you're for that community. It's not manufactured. This is serious business. Now, I'm taking my time on this because I really want to drive home a point. And you need to drive home to a point to these opinion writers, which I call political dummies. It's just simple. The days of saying we're going to support you just because you black and live in a black neighborhood don't mean nothing. If that's that, then, I have a choice to pick. So that means if Warnock was not running, or a white guy was running, I should vote for Herschel Walker? No, because he's a Republican, but he's black. And that's my proof. Herschel Walker is black, but he haven't advocated in the black community, but he's open. If he's opened himself up and say, if that's what I need to do to win, I need to do. If I was his advisor, I would telling him, yo, bro, Herschel, mumble bumble or not, You need to go out here to this community and talk to them. And if I need to put on a hip-hop beat and let you mumble rap through the whole doggone thing, or mumble talk through the whole thing like a mumble rapper, get out there and say it. Talk to them, hear from them, let them give you the issues that they have, and you take their issues and advocate them if you want that vote. I don't care if he live in Beverly Hills next to, the Cartwrights. I don't care. Or he's living next to Cousin Boudreaux over there on 35th Street. I don't care. You're going to have to advocate for the black vote. You should not assume that you have it just because you of it. I've done more than 50 events in the black community, as Abrams said on Fox News Sunday, to hear report. I'm excited about the turnout we're seeing. I'm excited about the engagement that we're seeing. Let me stop this for a second. You doing an event in the black community is not the same as you going out in the black community and talking with them. It's great that you did 50 events in the black community. What's that, 50? The whole year, that's what's two events a week, 3 events a week. That's it, Stacey? You should have been doing 50 events in the black community for your first month of your campaign. What are you talking about? Now, she went on Fox News. Did y'all say anything about that? Because y'all get mad when a black person go on Fox News. I'm excited about the turnout we're seeing. I'm excited about the engagement that we're seeing. Of course, you're going to say that because you got to put the image up there that you're winning. Of course, you're going to say that. I know, however, every election cycle that there has to be some worry. And in this case, it is a worry that's being manufactured. How this is a manufactured worry. How is this a manufactured worry? Man, you better factor that this is true. If anything manufactured, you, man, need to factor that you not listen to the voice of the black grassroots movement and what they're telling you to do and say is going to cost you. Same thing with Brian Kemp. Most of the people that are, if you're not on page with what the black community is demanding, if you're not going to put that on your platform and run with it, doesn't necessarily mean we're going to vote for the other person either. We ain't going to vote for you, but doesn't mean we're going to vote for the other person. Just in that particular race or that particular campaign, we may check nothing. We may write in. We may do anything. We may write in reparations. Doesn't mean we're not voting. We vote for reparations. This candidate ain't pushing it. This candidate ain't pushing it. So therefore, we're not voting for it, but we're going to push it. We'll put reparation in that slot. And then we'll go down the ballot and see if anybody else that's pushing reparation. That's what we check. If they're not pushing it, we'll check, put down in reparations. Abrams added, but it's always an opportunity to engage. I do not take any voting block for granted. I may be African American, but I'm not entitled to a single vote that I don't earn. So you hear that, Mr. Opinion Writer? She said that she cannot take advantage of every vote. She can't assume that she got every vote, that she need to earn it. I'm glad you agree with that, Stacey Abrams, because you need to earn it. And one of the major ways you're going to earn the black vote, you're going to have to deal with the number one issue in the black American, that's economic empowerment. We want the same wealth equality whites have. We don't need you talking about, Native Americans or immigrants. We don't need you to come to us and talk about them. You go to them and talk about them. When you come to our community, you talk about black. You talk about what you're going to do concerning our black agenda. We've given you the black agenda. You know what we demand, and we know you know what we want. And we're not looking for Congress to get in this. We're trying to let you know we're not looking for a filibuster or 60 votes or voting a bunch of. You telling us we need to vote a bunch of Democrats in order to get. No, we don't need that. We didn't need that for the voting rights. We didn't need that for the civil rights legislation, and there are a host of other things we need. We didn't need to put people in office to make that thing happen. We did it on our own without politicking, if that's a word, without politicking. We divest. We do the Kanye move. We stop doing business with you. And we're going to stop doing business with you if you don't do what the Black Grassroots Movement tell you to do. Killer Mike was forced to address his comments on social media after many called him an op. They probably call me an op too. A black man who say, "Hey, I'm independent. I don't owe no allegiance to no party because no party has owed no allegiance or shown any allegiance to us. Just because you help black people get elected office don't mean you're doing the black community any justice. It's when those black people that get elected start doing things on behalf of the black community first, then you won our loyalty. But you're not loyal to us. We don't have no obligation to be loyal to this. If you want a marriage, it goes both ways. I give up something, you give up something. And lately, for the past 40 years, 50 years, you haven't given up anything. Nothing but vote for me and we will. And when we get you in office and you even have the majority, you don't. Manufactured. And you're calling him a op. A op is a term. This is what he said. A op is a term used in the black community to describe one's opponent. No, a op is a person hired by political people that's in the political establishment, or it could be people in the government status that tries to infiltrate and stop things or to cause things to happen that don't benefit you. To the democratic process. He said op is a term used in the black community to describe as one's opponents to the democratic process. Some even posted photos of him and Kemp from their 2018 meeting. What's wrong with Killer Mike meeting Kemp? That's why I had no problem with Kanye meeting with Trump. I had no problem with, I had no problem with, what's his name? Steve Harvey. I don't have no problem. Dr. Martin Luther King met with one of the biggest racists of all time, LBJ. Y'all act like meeting with a bigot is adding legitimacy. If that was the case, Dr. King would have never let. No. It's about business. And I don't care who is in power. You're going to work with us if you want to maintain it. Democrats, if you don't want to maintain power, stop. Ignore us. Keep walking away from us when we're telling you, making demands. Keep ignoring us. Keep talking about other people. Of course, Killer Mike said, don't waste your time being mad. A 2-year-old picture of me. You better get to door knocking and canvassing for your side. I have not politically endorsed any candidate and will be keeping my vote private matter. Twitter ain't real, so get your blank and cast a vote. And that's how I am. Who I vote for is not your opinion. I'm voting for the person who got black interests at heart, truly. I'm voting for the person that's going to push reparations. If you're not going to put reparation, economic empowerment, 50-50 between native blacks and native whites to this country, then I'm not supporting you at all. At all. That's the key point. I know you might have all this other stuff on the platform, but that's more important to me than anything. There's no negotiating with me. And if neither party is supporting it, then I'm going to write reparations in the slot. I'm going to vote, and I'm voting for reparations. And if neither one of you are voting for supporting reparations in our current form, not your form, our form, then I'll bypass your 2 slots and I'll write in reparations now. How you like me now? What Killer Mike brand of politics are so dangerous is that he is actually in the field. What's wrong with that? He's doing the work to mobilize. What's wrong with that? He's equally as damaging to his legacy when he legitimized Kemp. Meeting with Kemp is not legitimizing. Stop, folks. They're going to sit this thing that if you meet with anybody other than the Democratic, you're legitimizing their beliefs. No. Meet me with a Democrat. The Democrats don't have black interests at heart. Is that legitimate? So you think the Democrats are the only one that's supposed to be legitimized? Only make us legitimate. Don't make them legitimate. Neither one of y'all legitimate. All y'all are crooks. All of y'all are cons. All of y'all take advantage of people for votes. Voters saying that we'll do this and you don't do anything until they put the pressure on you. And then now you ain't got no choice because you fear of a one-term seat. These people, Kemp, whose life work appears to be undoing the black vote, is troubling not knowing where the Atlanta rapper's intention lies. It's none of your business where his intention lies. Worry about yourself. But if we go off his work, it appears duplicitous at best. It's disconcerting to watch a loquacious black man with a platform propped up someone who has undo all the good of the civil rights leader before him. That is a way more perilous than anything Ye could do. Now, tell me what Stacey Abrams is doing to get us far beyond the current civil rights issue. Probably no more than Kemp. See, folks, I don't legitimize none of them. This is a business. Stacey can come to the table. Kemp could come to the table. I'll tell you what black people need. Just like in the Game of Thrones, if we can work out something and you get that for me, I'll give you something. Now, at the end of the day, we're usually enemies, but we come together to deal with this particular enemy that's want to snuff both of us out. Democrats don't want to do that with us. They want to just come to the negotiation table and say, support what we're doing. I'm not going to give you nothing for it. It's just like that last episode of not Ring of Power, but on the Dragons on the Game of Thrones. Guys said, you come over here and you ain't bring nothing. You ain't bring nothing. At least this man they brought something. At least he's taking one of my daughters for a wife. That's how you negotiate. You ain't bringing nothing to the table. Man, carry your behind on. And that's how it is here right now. The Democrats and the Republicans are not bringing nothing to the table of black people. They're not taking on our needs and our agenda. And because you're not taking on our agenda and our issues the way we've explained them to you and you don't take it serious, we're not taking both of you serious. We're not going to legitimize neither one of you. But it doesn't matter. If that person say, I will take this and I will work with you on this, it doesn't matter about legitimacy. It's business. Killer Mike rises a voice of politics. Crescendoed in 2014 during a show in St. Louis, Missouri, he took a moment to stand in solidarity with Ferguson protesters who were still in the middle of uprising after Darren Wilson, a former St. Louis police officer, shot and killed Michael Brown. Killer Mike didn't just praise the protesting peacefully, which he should. He also noted that his thoughts and prayers were with those who couldn't hold their anger in. And what's wrong with that? Because riots are only the language of the herd. That's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. You MFers got me today. You kicked me on my blank because I was a 20-year-old son and a 12-year-old son, and because I have a 20-year-old son and a 12-year-old son, and I'm so afraid of them. You got me today. But you blank MFers will not own tomorrow. He said he held black tears. He said as he held black tears. Excuse me. The snippets from the show went viral. Killer Mike was all over the airways as a voice, not only for reason but of change. He called for Americans to hold elected officials accountable, which is rightfully so, Democrat or Republican. He called for cops to be prosecuted for their crime. He had the uncanny, which Democrats are not trying to do either. He had the uncanny and almost unquestionable ability to be loved by the streets, the media, and the left. And that's the problem you got with him. The man got more influence than you do. He got more political power. He has a base, unlike Kanye West has. He has a base. If it's just white progressives and some blacks, he got a base. You don't, bruh. I'm talking to you, the person writing this letter. And then something happened. As Killer Mike kept talking, the word didn't seem as passionate. The focus appeared off. It was like Killer Mike was no longer a killer. He was just Mike, an account who didn't understand fervent violence after a police killing. He was the person who then Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottom called to be the voice that told rioters to go home. Now, look, At that time, Keisha Lance Bottom should have shut up because she's nobody's mama. And he should have spoke louder against Killa. I would have said, look, Miss Bottom, hell no, shut up. Nah, we ain't going home. We want change, and we ain't leaving these streets till we get change. And the only way you're going to get real change is in these streets. And I'm talking about you, the commentator, you, the writer, and you, the listener. The only way we're going to see change is getting in these streets. It's not going to be elected people to office, Roland Bowling Martin. It helps. But if they're not part of this, if they want to be out if they want our votes, they need to be out in the streets with us, showing support, willing to put it all on the line, even risk their lives, because that's what we're doing every day. I'm mad as hell, he told reporters in 2020, just a day after police officer murdered George Floyd. I woke up wanting to see the world burn down yesterday because I'm tired of seeing a black man die. Same thing with Stokely Carmichael said when Martin Luther King died, because he was with King prior to his death. Contrary to what a lot of you know, Dr. Martin Luther King had planned on ceasing the Poor People's Campaign and going on a campaign for black equality with white people. Campaign for black equality with white people. He got rid of some people in his camp like John Lewis and enlisted 2 black soldiers, black liberating soldiers like Kwame Ture, a.k.a. Stokely Carmichael. He had a different direction going. He said, we're going to get our check. We're going to make sure the government cut the check for us. They gave land to all these people, money to all these people, but don't want to give us nothing. They stole from us. And they still stealing from us. So next time we go to Washington, D.C., we come to get our check. That wasn't for progressives. That was not for poor people. That was for black people. He called out against the violent protests. It is your duty not to burn your own house down for anger with the enemy. And it's true. It'd be dumb to riot in your own neighborhood. That's dumb. That doesn't send a signal. And I'm not saying you do it in any neighborhood. Robert is not saying you do any of that. But you definitely don't do it in yours, because you got to come back home. It is your duty to fortify your own house so that you may be a house of refuge in times of organization. And he's right. He added, now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. And that's what we need to be doing in the black community. We need to be plotting, planning, strategizing, organizing, and mobilizing against both of these parties. Force both of them to our knees. And he who bends the best and takes on our agenda, that's who we go with. We're not taking no sides, fool. We're not Democrats or Republican. We're black, and black first. He ended his plea by telling protesters, if we lose Atlanta, what else we got? And I get that. Lately, he had quieted the shifts in rhetoric, tone, and approach. The transformation of Killer Mike has been subtle. For one, he is not just a reader of books. He is not just a reader of books. Kanye read books. Stop. He's a well-informed orator of history. He's not just an old head in the barbershop telling the young folks to get out and vote. He is a barbershop owner. Working class men can't join a social club, so we go to the barbershop to express our thoughts, concern, laugh, joke, and about sports, Killer Mike said. Killer Mike, that ain't the only place we do it. We do it at a bar. We do it anywhere, man. Cook out anywhere. Killer Mike said in a short documentary about his swag shop barbershops. For all of his communal grassroots efforts and talk, Killer Mike was highly criticized in 2020 when for only reasons that make sense to him and the Republicans, the rapper agreed to meet with the biggest problem facing black people in Georgia. Kemp. How is Kemp the biggest back problem facing black people in Georgia? Sounds familiar. One of the biggest problems we had with black people in America was LBJ. Good old boy, Texas oil tycoon, bigot, racist Lyndon Baines Johnson. Yet Dr. King met with him. The problem is Then they didn't consider it legitimizing. These people want to use this term legitimizing as a tactic to shame you from meeting with the other side. Only meet with our side. Yeah, but what if your side say no? That's it. You ain't got no other place to go. The hell you think I don't? You ain't got nobody but our side. I don't subscribe to that, bruh. Either you gonna come to our end, or I'm gonna give Governor Kemp an opportunity to come to our end, or we're gonna come to an end. We're gonna shut this all down. If neither one of y'all gonna give into our demands, we're not here to take sides. We're here to take over. And we're not going to do through a political system, and we're not going to lean over to a political party to do it. If you can get things done on behalf of us, we'll make a transaction. But I got an open negotiation table. And I've had you as my only negotiator, and you crapped on me every time thinking, well, who else you got? Well, I'm not your old boyfriend or your old girlfriend who's saying, where else you gonna go? Ain't nobody better than me. You ain't gonna never find nobody better than me. Oh, okay. All right, keep believing that. If a person gonna celebrate me and not just tolerate me, I'd rather work with that person that's gonna celebrate me versus the person just tolerating with me. Folks, Kemp isn't the biggest problem facing America. Don't get me wrong, he's a problem. But we've always had bigots that were problems to the black community, but we always learn how to deal with them to get what we want done. To me, the biggest problem in the black community is the person that has this nice suit on, but he got scales on his skin. And his tongue ain't like ours. His tongue got a split in it. I don't see no legs. I don't see no arms. All I see is a suit with a snake head and a snake tail. A snake rattle at the end. Let me keep going. Since taking office, Kemp has worked tirelessly to suppress the black vote. How? By expecting people to be on the rolls, that the addresses on the rolls are correct. By making sure there's a legitimate state ID. See, New York does this. And we're one of the biggest blue states in the country. You got to have an ID in order to vote. You ain't voting without an ID. Now, since we've gotten some migrant workers coming here, Mayor Adams, the con that he is, he's going to do something to legitimize the ability to have these native people who are not even citizens, to vote in the next election, thinking that this is going to benefit Democrats. And see, that's the problem. You only want us to side with you when it benefits you, but you don't want us to side. But when it comes to benefiting us, you telling us the only way where we can benefit ourselves is we got to side with you. It doesn't work that way. A December 2019 study from Atlantic Journal of Constitution found that while Kemp didn't order the closures of precinct at polling site relocation, he did encourage them and reportedly defies the guidelines for how to go about it. Well, here's my solution concerning this. When it comes to voting, it should be a paid holiday. You shouldn't have to come to work that day, unless you're scheduling. If you schedule, you get paid time and a half, or double time and a half on that day. Should be same day registering and voting, which benefits you because you'll be able to. You should have an ID with an address. You look at the ID, look at your ID. If the address is the same on the voter's roll, that person go in there to vote. If it's not the same, you should be able to fix that right then and there. And if you're not in that district, you have to go to the proper district where it's at, and you have to give them the location where to go. That's what they've been doing here in New York. People never change their address. They move, never change their address. And when they go to vote, they realize they're in the wrong district. You're still at the old district. That's not the fault of the government. That's not the fault of Republicans or Democrats. That's your fault. You did not let the election committee know that you moved. But since your district is over here, you can't vote here because you have no address here. Now, if your address is correct, you vote. If not, you got to go where your address is and vote. If you still have that old address, but this is your new address and you're in this district, we can re-register you right then and there to vote. but you need to have ID. Now, folks, I can go on and on in the story. I don't want to read this whole story on my own. I do encourage people to go and read the story themselves. But the bottom line is this. This opinion piece by Stephen A. Crowder Jr. This guy's butthurt, claiming that Killer Mike is more dangerous than Kanye because he's politically savvy. He has a strong voice. He has a community base. And, and he's very believable. The only problem he got is he's mad, number one, because Killer Mike met with the so-called opposition. Well, Killer Mike has no allegiance, shouldn't have no allegiance to Democrat. So you can't call on his behalf somebody opposition. Opposition is a person who don't want to take our agenda and run with it. If you're a Democratic that don't want to put reparations in the forefront and black equality, native black equality with native white equality in the United States, if you're that person, I don't care if you're Democratic or Republican, I'm not voting for you. Plain and simple. You can knock on the doors. You can tell me about other policies, but that's the most important policy in the black community, especially when it comes to foundational black Americans, is economic empowerment side by side with white people. You should be for ID registration. Like I said before, I believe that we should, election day should be a paid holiday. And if you have to work, you get paid double time. But your boss should give you enough time to get to the polls. Number two, I got no problem with waters being handed out if the lines are long. You should be making it comfortable for people to stay in that long lines. That should not be a political thing. You should be able to hand water out, both Republican and Democrats. It's not about that. The federal government should have people out there with bottles of water ready to make sure people relieve. I tell people, you better bring your chairs, bring your phone and your battery. You might be out there for a long time, so you watch some Netflix or whatever until this line moves, and bring you some water. Don't depend on the government for that. I'm not against it, but don't depend on the government for it. Bring your own water, bring your battery charger, bring your battery, and bring your phone. And if you can't, bring your little stool. It might take some time. Treat it like you're tailgating. Treat it like you're waiting to get into a concert or get tickets to a concert. Back in the old days. I have no problem with Killer Mike. You got to negotiate with both sides. You need to talk to nobody. It's not called legitimizing. They're going to try to say it's legitimizing. It's not legitimizing. It's called negotiation. And the hell for you all, the hell to you people who sitting there saying, only the Democrats are going to even entertain the thought of it. Well, it's not about Democratic entertaining thought of it. Republicans entertain the thought of it. Here's the deal. One of y'all better start thinking about it. And if you're not, we're going to force you to think about it. And one way we're going to force you is at the polls. Because you won't get a check from us. If you're not willing to give us our check, you ain't getting a check in the ballot box. It's plain and simple. Kemp ain't getting one. Abram ain't getting one. Walker ain't getting one. Ornock is getting one. Only the person who say, I support economic equality between native blacks and native whites to this country, same dollar cents, that's the one I'm supporting. But what about all these other things on the platform? Whatever. Y'all always say y'all going to support all that stuff. I'm for it, but I'm for this number one. This is my number one priority on my agenda. And this is the number one priority in the black community. It's not education. It's not housing. None of that. Give us our money. We can buy our own education. We can buy our own housing. Give us what you owe. This rapper is more politically dangerous than Kanye West. The only problem I got with Kanye West is, number one, he don't know how to keep his mouth closed. He need to get his meds, and he needs some decorum, and he need to get his butt on cold. Now he's going to be forced to get his meds. He's going to have to be forced to do all that stuff, or who knows what's going to happen with him. Who knows? The man is not mentally stable. And for you people listen to him saying he playing chess, you can't trust a man to play chess when he's not right in the brain. Because one minute he's playing chess, and next thing you know, those pawns look like freaking chess pieces. I mean, checkers. Bruh, you can't play checkers with these knights and these queens and these towers, bruh. No, this is chess. At the end of the day, Mr. Stephen A. Crocker, Killer Mike owes no party any allegiance. He don't owes the Democrat no allegiance or Republicans. What they need to do is fight to be aligned with him. They need to ask him to support them. They need to give them a reason to support them. And they need to give them some personal reasons to support them. And it can't be just voting rights. Personally, I need food on my plate. Personally, I need housing. Personally, I need more education. Personally, my kids need more education. Personally, I need a decent paying job where I only have to work one job and I can take care of my entire family. Even my wife staying home with the kids, I should be able to do that on one freaking blue collar job. Anyway, I'm done with this particular episode of the Rob Report on episode of Bob Brown Show on the go. Thank you for your time. And I will back this video up on a brand new tube BitChute, if you don't mind. But nah, I mean, Killer Mike is a smart, intellectual brother. Don't get me wrong, but he too need to be on code and remain on code, and that would be the difference with him. Kanye need to stop kissing white establishment behind, left, on the right, just like I would say Killer Mike need to stop kissing white establishment behind on the left. One kissing Bernie Sanders bigot behind, and the other one kissing Trump bigot behind. And neither one of them need to be kissing nobody behind. You need to be coming together on behalf of your black people and telling both of these sides, look, this is what the black people want, and if you ain't gonna get it, you don't get our vote. You on your own.